Hey crew, Conrad coming at you with another episode of Dune Dorks. What's on deck today? How about a classified ad review on this Performance Fabrication 4-seater? This isn't just any 4-seater, by the way, and I don't want to get I don't want to get ahead of myself on this one because I'm really geeked about this car. So let's go ahead and get into the details. So this is brought to you by Sandcar Buy-Sell crew member Celeste Smart. Location is the Henderson, Las Vegas area, asking $15,000. This is a somewhere around 2,000 Performance Fabrication 4-seater built by the man himself, Monty Crawford. This is a one-of-a-kind, custom-built 4-seater sandrail with an alcohol-based 400 horsepower turbo VW engine, and it can be tuned for E85 fuel. See photos for all the specs. We'll get to those, right? The case is cracked on the transmission. Ideally, all the parts in the tranny need to be taken out and installed in another transmission case, which we have. Other than that, everything else is in great shape. The last 3 pictures are from an article in Hot VW's magazine from 2002, and all the rest are recent. Okay, so before we jump in and take a closer look, I do need to give a shout out. I'd like to thank a few folks who are ardent supporters of the channel as well as supporters of myself personally. So first up we have Mr. Edgar Sanchez, which by the way, he sent me a Del Taco Barstow whip flag. If you know, you know. Then we have Mr. Paul Coleman, Steve Brooks, Mr. Obsessed, David Mlanik, always tuning in and always giving us comments. Thank you, David. And also Mr. Robert McGraw, who's also an ardent supporter of this channel and myself. And not only, but he hooked me up with a set of roller wheels and tires a few days ago, and he didn't even charge me for them. So thank you, Mr. Robert. I will get those wheels and tires back to you once my car's all set up. But otherwise, just want to give a shout out to those folks. Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and get back to the review. Okay, so let's jump in and take a closer look. Now you may be asking yourself, $15,000 for a 4-seat beam car with a broken transmission. Why? I'm going to tell you why. Because this car has an automatic transmission in it, which you rarely see, a 400 horsepower Volkswagen turbocharged, which is like wow, and then the front end has cantilever shocks. So I got a little bit of a story about that. I went to the Sand Sports Super Show in Costa Mesa, late 90s, early 2000s. This car was on display. It was brand new. And I remember walking by it, as you see it right now. And I saw the front end on this and just blown away that somebody would take the time to convert a standard beam car into a cantilever front suspension. It just looks beautiful. Only one I've ever seen like this. I totally missed at the time that this was an automatic. You know, you had a gas pedal and you had a brake pedal, but I was so focused on the front end, I didn't even realize that he'd put an automatic in it. Very simple to drive. But I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. Well, there is one other manufacturer that made a cantilever front end. Let me show you. So bear with me as I get into a little bit of Sandcar history. This stuff is what, you know, I'm made of. I love the creative portion of all of these cars. In fact, it was the late 90s and early 2000s, which I think was absolutely the best era for Sandcar manufacturers. There wasn't a side-by-side in sight yet. Long travels were just coming into play, from our standard travel to our mid travel, then into our long travel. And this was an era where guys were taking a Sandcar and putting longer travel suspension on it. And what allowed them to do that, advent of the Mendiola transmission, which that's for a whole nother episode. But here's one of the most beautiful cars I think was ever manufactured at that time, both as a 2-seat mid-engine and a 4-seat rear engine. This is a Ron Loomis racing car. I don't know what he called these things, but take a look at these front A-arms and the inboard shocks. I mean, nobody was doing this in the Sandcar world back in the day, and I don't know if anybody else that has, other than the car that we're looking at, but this is just such a beautiful setup. It's almost like IndyCar, right? So now we've got Ron Loomis Racing doing this and Performance Fabrication. If anybody knows of anybody else that's got a cantilever front suspension on a different chassis, let me know. Put that in the comments. The Ron Loomis Racing also had cantilever in the rear. We're not going to get into that. I just wanted to show you the front end of this setup because I think it's absolutely beautiful. I digress. Moving back to our Performance Fabrication green machine. Let's jump into the photos. Before the photos, I forgot I had this. This is an advertisement from Sand Sports Magazine, summer 1997. That's right, when Sand Sports first came out, it was a quarterly edition magazine and then eventually went to monthly because, like I said, long travel cars were exploding. So here's Monty Crawford's Performance Fabrication. Here's an ad for this chassis. So you can see right here, it's the exact same car that we're going to look at right now, but this one's going to have a 6-inch wider beam on it, some longer trailing arms up front, probably some heavy duty spindles, and then our standard coilover with an extended shock mount. This is what most setups are like on a 4-seat family car. It's bulletproof, it's worked for years, and they're a lot of fun. But Monty, he took it to the next level. Okay, let's jump in. And there she is in all her glory. So beyond being a fantastically built chassis overall, look at this front end. I'm telling you, if you purchase this car, you're going to be the only one at your dune complex that has a front end like this. I've never seen another one. But so we go with a standard wider beam, which we saw in the last photo. We've got some longer trailing arms and most likely some upgraded spindles as well. But look at the lower shock mount and the link that comes up, and then hand fabricated these pivots that go into these shocks. Now, I don't know what kind of shocks they are. I didn't research that far, and they didn't post it in their description. But look at this whole setup on here. I mean, it is just... That's what I see when I see it. It's like, you know, I'm a sucker for details on cars. So when I see something like this, I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I had $1 zillion. I'd buy all of these cars. But anyhow, so that's the front end on that. Let's get into a closer photo. Okay, hang tight. Okay, so we got a coming at you view on this one here. So again, you get an idea of all the lacing that's put on this one. And just look at this rocker assembly. Can you imagine when you're driving and you're going over the whoop-de-doos and you're just watching those shocks do this as your tires go straight up and down? It's got to be an absolutely epic feeling or scene. A buddy of mine, Kevin, he's out in Las Vegas. He's had a chance to drive this car, and he said it is so fast and it is so fun to drive. Okay, so what else do we have? Some X bracing up in the front here. Looks like some standard fare headlights for back in the day. I don't even think this car's really upgraded all that much. Oh, well, there's one. Oh, and then we get there. We got a full top on it with the roll in the front, which you typically see on an off-road race car, not much in a sand car. But remember, Performance Fabrication, Monty Crawford built all sorts of cars, including off-road race cars. So you're getting a quality machine. Okay, let's get into another photo. I think it's a closer up. Hold on. Yes. So take a look at this. You have your standard buggy rack and pinion right here. How about the mount? You guys have all seen the little bolt-on doohickey that has 4 clamps on it, and then you put that on, then it mounts the rack. Look at what Monty did. I mean, that has got to be a hand-formed piece of aluminum that he welded on to this beam to mount the rack. Details. So we look at, again, the shock mounts up here, the lacing that comes through here. Just beautiful. God, I love these rockers. The center console, I'm going to show you in another photo, but look, it's got some bead rolling put into the console as well. Okay, next photo. So this photo really quick because it has a removable steering wheel, but I wanted to show you what it comes with. Okay, next. Okay, so let's get into a cockpit view on this. So this has got a real nice, I don't know if these are, oh God, I wonder if that's Beard. When did PRP seats come out? I don't know. Beard, then Red Art. Sorry, again, just my history. I'm just trying to remember. Let me scroll in a little bit on here. So we've got let's see, a shifter. We got a single handle Walker brake right there. Again, the center console with some switches, some gauges on there. Looks like a CNC or Neil throttle pedal and a single brake, right? Because the car's an automatic. But let's scroll in a little bit. I want to show you a couple of other details on this car that I absolutely love. So it's got a dead pedal welded on for your left foot when you're just cruising, and you're going to use that a lot in this car because you never have to push the clutch because you can relax, throw your left foot over there, gas and brake, really like it. Another thing we're going to have is the aluminum floor. You see what I see? Zeus fastener. Genius, right? Most folks weld the metal to the floor, or they're going to bolt it on with a nut and bolt, right? And when you're getting into the inside nut and bolts, you always need 2 people, one on the top, one on the bottom, to get those unhooked so you can pull the floor out. So really simple, really easy to remove for access to all the nuts and bolts under the car. Super, super smart. All right, so what else do we have here? The stack. We got our shock, looks absolutely beautiful. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself again. Next. Okay, so a little bit lower view of a picture of this. I don't know what this handle is. Is that for the turbo or something? Or is that, I don't know what the handle is for. I never get into 400 horsepower alcohol Volkswagens. I mean, that's just... Okay, so we've got all that. Again, here's the bead rolling in that. Just the little extra touches that are thrown in on this that just really make the car stand out. Okay, next. Yeah, I know I'm focusing on the interior a lot, but there's things to see. So let me scroll up on this one a little bit and look at the shifter mount. This is all handmade, guys. Remember, we're going to be going forward and backwards on this thing as far as it being an automatic transmission. Very simple, super nice. Let's go back here and take a look at the ice chest mount. How many of these have we seen that people just bolt them on, right? They got brackets on them or you bolt them to the floor. Some of them have that flip top on them so you can put tools on them and whatnot. But look at this. He took that 6-pack rack and then put these brackets in under it and mounted it to the frame, welded it to the frame. So now once you have it on there, you have no way that that thing is gonna crack or break. Again, extra touches. Here we can see the bead rolling on the top. Just super nice. Oh, what do we have? CNC throttle pedal. Okay, I'll stop geeking out on all these little things on that. Let's get to the next one. And not only do you have these beautiful suspension seats, you've also got some kid seats thrown in there as well. Looks like he's got 2 of them. There was one in the front. I'm not going to show you because I'm not going to keep going on and on about the interior. I know you're probably bored of it already. But anyhow, we got 5-point Simpson harnesses, and that's how they work. You just put them over your kids, tie them in, and then rock and roll. Okay, next. Okay, so we didn't have a current rear 3/4 view of the car, so I went ahead and pulled this picture out of the magazine that they did the full breakdown on it, right? But again, we've got a really nice, you know me, and my tight A-pillars, lots of headroom, very large cage, B-pillar for safety. We've got triangulation on the rear for this shock. It looks like back in the day he had Fox shocks on the rear. Remember I said earlier about not really any upgrades? You'll see it in the next photo. He did upgrade the rear suspension on that. See a little bit of lacing up in the corners on there, as well as right down here to the bumper skid plate, I guess. And then the bumper, you got a little bit of an angle on it. So when you're doing wheelies, you're not going to drag the rear of the cage straight away. Otherwise, just beautiful overall design. Okay, let's take a look at the rear shocks. Kings is the upgrade. So we've got a bypass shock on there with a piggyback reservoir, and he's still running a torsion rear suspension on that. A sway-away heavy-duty torsion bar, extra long, probably 3x3, maybe 3x5 trailing arms on there, fully boxed. Nice setup, great upgrade on the shocks. As well, looks like we got a full-size aluminum tank, probably 15, maybe even 20 gallons. It's that big. And then here's your gas gauge, right? I love these when they're built in like that. So you have a clear tube that shows you how much fuel is still in the tank. Okay, next. Okay, so another rear 3/4 detail shot. Really interesting location for the turbo being up in front of the engine and exiting out the side of the car. Really, really neat. And then another thing too I noticed, what's funny is he's got standard VW valve covers, and of course they've been drilled out and welded on so you can tap it to put a vent on there. But standard VW valve covers with regular baling. Thank you. Regular baling clips. So folks might say, hey, how come there's not some aluminum finned valve covers on there that are bolted on and whatnot? This car's running 400 horsepower. In my opinion of running Volkswagens over the years, these valve covers and these bales are actually the best setup to keep the engine sealed, or to keep the heads sealed to not allow oil to puke out of them. So really cool to see such a high dig engine that he's got the standard VW valve covers. Okay, that's about all I see on that one. Next. Man, look at the back of this car. Look at how wide it is. They've got to be 12-inch wide wheels. I can't imagine he's got 15s on there, but a really nice stance in the rear of the car. Here's the Performance Fabrication decal. That's what I'm telling you. This is an original paint car. And I don't know about you. I've been a hot rodder for years. I think we're all kind of gearheads. But you know what's funny is everybody doing their patina rides. There's no way. If I own this car, there's no way I'd powder coat it. I mean, I'd clean it up and detail it and do all the things, but I would leave this absolutely original the way it was built 24, 25 years ago, whatever that is now. But really cool to have the original sticker on there. I mean, this is a full built high dig VW engine. Oh, and then it's got a removable cage. Oh, imagine that you can actually unbolt this. I can't see where you unbolt it back here, but you can actually take the cage out so you can get the engine out simply without having to take it out over the top. All right, next. Okay, so we've got an overhead view of the engine, and first thing that jumps out at me is the Type 4 or the Porsche fan shroud. These do a fantastic job of keeping a VW engine cool. Now, this car runs on alcohol, so it's going to run cool anyway, but if you do happen to switch it over to E85, it's always nice to have that set up and ready to rock and roll. Look, we've got hand-built intake on this. Like I was saying before, the turbo mounted up front with it exiting out the side. Typically the turbos come somewhere on the back, so this is really, really clean. We got a blow-off valve on there, full hand-built exhaust. Look at this all coming through here. Super trick setup. I think that's about all I see on that one. Okay, let's get into the next one. Okay, so here we've got a picture of the car in action. This is what I used for the thumbnail for the YouTube video. The front wheels are off the ground. Do you know how hard that is to do in a 4-seat beam car, especially with the wheelbase that we're at? Probably 115 to 120, maybe 122. But to pull the front wheels up on a 4-seater, yeah, that 400 horsepower VW really scoots. So as I mentioned, it was also in the magazine. Take a look at this. I took some pictures of the Dune Buggies and Hot VW's October 2002 issue, where we see the original build of the car. Everything through here, you can see exactly how it was from back in the day. It's got a good article on all the information on the car, plus a breakdown of the engine that's currently in there. Okay, and not only that, check this out. So I went ahead and cut these out and threw them up here. So if you want to pause the video and you want to read the full article on that, as well as here's a full breakdown of the engine and everything that's in it. Trans, that was the other thing. 85 Vanagon automatic builder, performance fabrication, ring and pinion 409-1, special modifications, modified for off-road use, and it has a high torque starter. So for me, if I was to pick up this car, yeah, we'd be pulling the engine out, we'd be freshening it up, we'd pull that busted transmission out, go ahead and swap over the case, put it back in, grease up everything, lube up everything, just basically prep it for the season. We're only 3 months away from dune season here in the Southwest, so you're going to be hitting Glamis, Dumont. Everything that you're getting in this car, to me, makes it worth every single dollar, because you're going to have a high horsepower car. You can take the whole family in it, and it is extremely unique. Okay, so that's all the photos we had. I hope you enjoyed this full walk around of this car. If you want some more information on it, feel free to leave a comment below. And also, if you're in our Facebook group, we have 30,000 members in the Sandcar Buy Sell Crew Facebook group. Reach out to us in there as well. We'll get you in contact with the owner. Otherwise, I guess that's all I've got. I'll close this out by saying thank you for watching. See you in the dunes.